Alright, welcome everybody to the Lorwyn Common and Uncommon set review. It's me, it's Mark, it's all the elves and the merfolk and the weird little critters on Lorwyn. We're here for all the commons and uncommons today. We're doing the rares and the mythics in a few days. And yeah, I mean, I know one thing people are very excited for about the set is it's a magic set. It is actually a actual factual IP magic set. And I think it's going to be a good one. Mark, welcome back. How's it going?
Yeah, something you didn't used to have to say that it's a magic set, but
Yes.
we are where we are. There's going to be, this is the first of 7 sets to be released, all draftable on Arena, I believe, this year. Am I correct in that?
I think so. Pretty wild number, but yeah, like you said, that's where we are now.
So we'll cross that bridge when it happens, but for this one, it's definitely, back to its roots, main set, nothing too fishy, not too much in terms of, bonus sheets. It's still play boosters, but it's almost like being back in the old days.
Yeah, were you playing during original Lorwyn?
Oh yeah, I played a lot of Lorwyn Draft actually, and I don't want to be, a Debbie Downer too early to start things off, but I actually am one of the few who was not a big fan of the draft set at the time. Like, we won't get into that while we're doing the introduction, but anytime you have a typal / tribal set based on the name change over the past decade, there is a chance of things getting a little bit on rails. And I am a little concerned that especially on Arena, there'll just be like some 10 out of 10, certain creature type running you over strategies going on. But we're here to analyze it in its full. And I think for Pod Draft, this is going to be a very sweet set.
Yeah, I love Lorwyn. I was not playing at the time, but I drafted it a bunch on Magic Online. They like flashed it back a bunch about 10 years ago at this point, which is weird to say. And yeah, I'm excited to see what the set has to hold. So for those just joining us, we do this every set. We do commons and uncommons one day, rares and mythic another day. If you want to see more limited content, I would definitely hit that follow button, subscribe button, wherever you're watching. And just a little bit of preamble. Don't worry, you can skip forward if you want to just get to the good stuff. But today we're going gold cards first, just to lay out the decks. And then we're going Uberg order, monocolored cards. We go from mana value cheapest to most expensive. That's how we do it. Just kind of lets you see how the curve might be organized for each of these colors. And I think that's kind of it. We use the tried and true A to F letter grading system that even if you don't know exactly what the grades mean, which at this point is very obscured, everybody has slightly different definitions, you kind of get a sense of how good the cards are. A's are the best, B's are really good, C's are kind of like your average cards, and D's are cards you hope not to play but sometimes make your deck. Before we jump in, anything else that I missed there, Mark?
Maybe I'll just, so today, we're talking Tuesday, January 13th, we're doing commons and uncommons. Tomorrow, Wednesday, will be early access, and then Thursday we're finishing up the review. But we have pre-graded all of the cards before getting a chance to play them in early access. So we will be comparing notes. We've pre-graded them and sent them to each other. We've had a chance to review each other's grades and digest on them a little bit. Gives us an opportunity to make a little bit more educated hopes and kind of aspirations for what this set's going to be and how things will play out. But we will be posting those tier lists publicly at the end of this stream. So those will be available. I think you're going to link them in whatever YouTube you're posting, and they'll also be available in the Discord too.
Yep, that's exactly it. You can just see the full tier list laid out if you like. And it means we don't have to bicker about the difference between a C plus and a B minus or whatever. So it just makes things go smoothly. And if I've been here before and you like the content, do check out the Patreon. There's a link to that in the description if you want to support the channel. And with that, let's just jump in. So with Lorwyn, a bit of an interesting set structure. There are technically 10 draftable decks, 10 draftable color pairs, but 5 of them are a lot more supported than the other 5. So there's kind of, some... There's a bit of weirdness going on here. Oh, Mark. Did I say something wrong?
You did. There are actually only 8 creature pairs supported in Lorwyn.
Well, I said five main ones. Yeah.
And then there's only 3 additional creature type pairs, though.
Right. Well, yes, but the other decks still have something going on. We'll get to it when we get to it. But basically, all I'm getting at is we're going to cover the 5 main decks first, which are Merfolk, Kithkin, Goblins, Elementals, and Elves. Starting out with Deep Channel Duelist, which is the Merfolk card. Blue-white for a 2/2, uncommon. Merfolk Soldier. Going to be reading out a lot of creature types today. At the beginning of your end step, untap target Merfolk you control. Other Merfolk you control get +1/+1. So these cheap Lord effects, pump the rest of the same type of creature, tend to be pretty darn good. And you get a little bit of a bonus here with untapping your Merfolk.
Right, and so it's interesting. So there are 10 hybrid uncommons and only 5 gold uncommons.
Yep.
And all 15 of those, no, sorry, all 10 of those in the main 2-color pairs really want you to have a lot of a specific creature type.
Yes.
So these are really going to push people in the direction of, well, if you're first picking a gold card, you're probably ready to say, okay, I'm really interested in playing this creature type. I'm going to try and get as many of those as possible throughout the rest of the draft.
Mm-hmm.
Deep Channel Duelist is a perfect example of that. It's pretty obvious in what it wants you to do. It wants you to fill your deck full of Merfolk. And if you do that, you're going to have a pretty good time.
Yeah, and by the way, I think this is the kind of card in this sort of set where we have an imbalance of archetypes where you're not that sad about first picking a powerful gold card like this. Because since there aren't as many supported archetypes, or at least there's an imbalance there, taking a gold card actually isn't that inflexible, right? So, yeah, great card. We'll get to that untapping Merfolk thing in a second here, because there's more kind of strategic relevance there. But what grade did we give Deep Channel Duelist?
We both give this a B.
Yes, great card. Next up, we've got Eclipsed Marrow, which is the first in a cycle here, a hybrid cycle, one for each of the main creature types. Hybrid Azorius, Hybrid Azorius, Hybrid Azorius, 3-mana creature for a 2/3 Merfolk at uncommon. When this creature enters, look at the top 4 cards of your library. You may reveal a Merfolk, Plains, or Island from among them, put into your hand, put the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. So I'm just going to start by saying this cycle is really powerful. Just the fact that you've got a relevant creature type creature with a power and toughness to mana cost ratio that's acceptable, that draws you a card with selection. Yeah, we're going to be giving pretty high grades to this whole cycle.
Yeah, even if these just hit you lands, they would be pretty reasonable.
Yeah.
Like just, a 2/3 draw card for 3 mana is already a pretty solid card.
Mm-hmm.
And the better the Merfolk you have that are hits for this, it just continues to get better and better throughout that. And it becomes really difficult to miss once you add your, 17 lands and your 5 to 15 Merfolk as possible hits. It means it's extremely unlikely to ever not find you a card.
Yeah, just fantastic. Not the best of the cycle. There's actually some that are slightly better than others, I think. But what do we give this one?
So for grades for this, I'm a little lower than you, partly just based on the fact that I think Merfolk is not maybe one of the best of them, but still very strong. You gave it a B+, which I like maybe a little bit more than my B-, because we are 2 grades off on this one.
Yeah, we'll have to see, but I've got high hopes. Okay, so we've got a common here, a hybrid common, Marrow Sky Swimmer, which is 3 Azorius Hybrid for a Merfolk. It's a 2/2 flying vigilance and has Convoke, which, for those who haven't seen Convoke, is just your creatures help you cast a spell. Each creature you tap while casting it pays for 1 or 1 mana of that creature's color. And the one, if you're just listening, is the generic one. Or, this can you can tap a white card to help cast the white. And when it enters, you get a 1/1 Merfolk token. 1/1 blue and white Merfolk token. So 5 mana 2/2 flying vigilance Convoke, get a token. And this is where the untapping a Merfolk comes in, because one of Merfolk's sub-themes is Convoke, right? Wants you to go wide, wants you to cast your Convoke cards, sometimes just with your creatures with no mana. And yeah, I think this is a pretty solid common.
Yeah, this is both a reward and an enabler for Convoke.
Right. Yes, that's a great point. Backwards compatible. Makes a token.
So
and
if you're doing the thing, it's going to be good. But do you think this is a good card? If you remove the types and the synergies, what do you think of this card?
Yeah, I think it's a little bit underrated. You would expect something a little bit more for your mana, right? You're like a point of power, a point of toughness, something here or there. I think what you're getting at, though, which I agree with, is the Merfolk matters here. The Convoke synergies matter here.
Right. So it's kind of nice if that's the case, because even though it's a hybrid card and it is playable in, some non-blue white blue deck or white deck, I do think it's more likely for these to end up in the lap of the blue white player, which
Hmm.
is a nice type of design to have on this, where they're still expanding the number of playables for each archetype in the draft, but they're rewarding somebody for wanting to do kind of the main color pairs thing.
Yep, totally agree. So what grade did we end up giving this?
We both gave this a C.
Yep, rock solid C. Okay, we're going to, do not be alarmed, we'll come back to these cards. I just want to cover the main 5 decks first. So we're going to go to the Goblin stuff now, red-black, starting with Boggart Cursecrafter, which is red-black for a 2/3 death touch at uncommon. It's a Goblin, and says whenever another Goblin you control dies, this creature deals 1 damage to each opponent. So Goblin's theme is, it's a bit loose, but it's kind of like what you expect from goblins. It's like foddery goblins. You're throwing them at your opponent. You're burning them out with them. You're sacrificing them for value, nickel and diming. And the Curse Crafter here, I think, kind of exemplifies that. So 2 mana, 2/3 death touch that pings your opponent a little bit over the course of the game. How do we like that?
That card's good. I just am not sure what to make of goblins.
Me
There's
too.
a lot of the commons and uncommons are kind of like, well, if this deck works out, it's going to be really strong. If not, I'm not so sure about it. So I'm a little apprehensive to start. I think this is going to be the kind of thing where as soon as you jump into your first match, you'll be like, oh, this is really good, or oh, it's not that good.
Yeah, I think so too. I always kind of like to go in, even though I kind of have like some gut feelings about what archetypes might be good and what might not be so good. I kind of like to assume that the things are going to be reasonable, unless it just like is clear that the support isn't there. Goblins is one of those decks I'm willing to be optimistic about. So, what grade did we give this one?
I was on a C plus. You're a little bit higher at a B minus.
Yeah, which kind of checks out, right? Next up, we've got Chaos Spewer, which is 2 and a Rakdos hybrid for a common goblin. It's a 5/4, okay? When it enters, you may pay 2. If you don't, blight 2, which is our first instance of blight, and it says to blight, you put 2 -1/-1 counters on a creature you control. So that's a big conversation to have there about blight, but we'll just focus on this card for the time being. 3 mana, effectively 3/2, or 5 mana, 5/4, or 3 mana, 5/4. If you can do something kind of sneaky with the counters, maybe put it on something that you want to die, or gets benefit from having negative counters on it. Interesting card.
Yeah, right off the bat, we kind of see why we're not so sure how goblins are going to play out.
Yeah.
The range of just possibilities with this thing, like paying 5 mana for a 5/4 is not exciting, but if you top deck it super late like that, that's the buyout for that. Playing this as a 3/2, certainly not exciting, but there are ways to do stuff with counters, a little bit here and there. If you put this on like a 1-drop and just sacrifice your 1-drop, it kind of becomes like a Bayou Groff from Strixhaven, if you remember that card.
Yeah, a little going a little ways back there, but I do remember that card.
Yeah, which was not good.
No.
But maybe in this set it'll be good. Like, yeah, this is a tough one to evaluate. This card reads as bad to me. I don't think any of the scenarios there excite me that much, even like the best case I could come up with. So I gave this a D, and you were even lower on a D minus.
Yeah, it might be a D. I think maybe I'm a bit harsh there, but yeah, not a card to be excited about. Eclipsed Boggart up next is the Goblin version of the cycle. Actually, the exact same card pretty much as the Merfolk version. It's Hybrid Rakdos, Hybrid Rakdos, Hybrid Rakdos for a 2/3 that when it enters, you can find a Goblin, Swamp, or Mountain in the top 4 cards.
Very exact same grades. I'm on a B minus. You're on a B plus. I probably bumped that up to a B just because like 2-for-1s for free are pretty good to come by.
Yep, not much to talk about there. Next up, we've got the Kithkin cards. So Kithkin are in green-white. Eclipsed Kithkin, the first card we're going to look at, is the hybrid Selesnya, green-white for a 2/1 that does all the things we just talked about. Look at the top 4 cards of your library, take a Kithkin forest, or plains. And I think this is probably the best of the bunch, just being a 2-drop, being a 2-power, 2-mana creature. I think often the most important land to hit is like that third one, right? We're just like, okay, 2-land hand, but maybe my Kithkin can help me hit that third. Yeah, I don't know. Just seems really good. I bumped this one up to an A-, I believe, where the other ones are a little bit lower. What say you about this, Mark?
Yeah, I love this one. Like, I'm actually with you on this at an A-. This card's amazing. Like,
Yeah,
2-drop versus 3-drop so much better. The statting's better. The fixing's better. And even like the creature type, I also think will play out a little better too. So that was a little bit of my grading, was kind of guessing how the power ranking strengths would be. And I think Kithkin looks pretty strong.
totally. Yeah, this is I think you're just gonna have such a sinking feeling whenever your opponent casts any of these, but especially this one on turn 2. Next up, we've got the gold card here. So Thought Weft Lieutenant is green-white for a Kithkin. It's a 2/2, uncommon. When this creature or another Kithkin enters, target creature you control gets +1/+1 and gains trample until end of turn. That is quite the 2-mana card. That's gonna push a lot of damage.
That's crazy.
Yeah. There was the I don't know if you remember this one, the unicorn neighborhood guardian,
right?
I think it was called, from Murders at Karlov Manor.
Yeah.
That triggered very similar card, triggered off of 2 power, didn't give trample, and that card was great.
Right. Yeah, I do think honestly, the number of triggers are probably similar between the 2 decks.
Yeah.
And yeah, the thing's just going to be incredible. Like, trample is a big buff on this too. Like, we both gave this a B+. This card also looks excellent.
Yep, this card just looks great to me. The common hybrid card is Wary Farmer, which is 1 Selesnya hybrid for a 3/3 Kithkin. At the beginning of your end step, if another creature enters the battlefield under your control this turn, you surveil 1. So Kithkin, didn't mention this, but Kithkin's like your prototypical aggro deck, like green-white creature aggro. It has light theming, and that there are cards that care about when creatures enter, which is just like a very kind of broad theme that's going to happen to game a little bit of Magic. But that's kind of what's going on here. So 3-mana 3/3 that surveils probably every turn. Like, it triggers off of itself. Oh, sorry, no, it doesn't. Another creature. No. So it doesn't trigger off of itself. But it's a really nice little piece of text for your aggro deck to have. To just be like, all right, I'm not going to draw, you get to draw 1.5 fewer lands over the course of the game or whatever.
Yeah, I could see this. Like, this is going to be, again, really good in green-white, but I could see this being strong enough to play in non-green-white decks, potentially.
Sure. Yeah, it just seems kind of solid.
Yeah, we both gave it a C, which is kind of, middle-of-the-road card, but it looks good. I'm excited to play Kithkin.
Yeah, I agree. Skipping some more cards that we will come back to soon to get to... Oh, sorry, no. This is the main one. What am I saying? Eclipsed Kithkin. This is the blue-red deck, and elementals are the creature type. Eclipsed Kithkin is it hybrid for a 1/4, and looks at the top 4, takes an island, mountain, or elemental. So this one we graded a little bit lower. I think part of that is the stat line, but more part of that, I think, is the elemental theme is a little bit less focused than the other 4 creature decks.
Yeah, see, I like elementals roughly as much as Merfolk and Goblins, and gave them all the same grade. So I was actually on a B- for this too, which means I'm actually higher than you in this case, because you are on a C+.
Yeah, I could see being too low on that, for sure. Maybe a good time just to talk about elementals just quickly. Like, what are you seeing? What's your vision here?
Well, so I talked about I've had a bit of a roller coaster journey with spoiler season, because part of it was that spoiler season this year, or this set, was extremely short.
Yeah, it was a week long.
So yeah, the holidays kind of pushed everything back. We only had a week where they dumped all the cards. Normally you have a little bit of time to kind of digest and absorb the mechanics and think about card interactions. But everything came at once. And so I was here kind of sitting thinking, oh, another Lorwyn set. It's going to be another, typal fest where every deck is just caring about creatures and it's all going to be the 2-color pairs. As the full set came together, I started to get a little bit more optimistic, partly because of the way that they've designed the hybrid cards. So there's 2 things going for this. 1 is the hybrid, and 2 is the elemental type. And with the hybrid, I think not only will it be possible to play like white red or red green or whatever, or one of the non-main archetypes? But I'm also interested in exploring the possibility of mostly monocolor decks.
Right. You know.
Because if you
No, yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
well, so, yeah, sorry, I'm run on sentence. I just keep going and never know when to give you a
All
chance to
good. All
speak.
good. All I was gonna say is, this is actually on my part, like bad on my part. This is the first time I've noticed that this is the only card in the cycle that isn't just straight hybrid across the board. Like it has a generic mana in it, right? So it is a little bit more flexible to be played in not just an Izzet deck.
Well, and even if it wasn't, even if it was triple pipped,
Yeah.
I think that if you can make like a 14 to 17 mountain based deck, that's whether it's like that's probably going to be elementals at that point, or goblins, or whatever one of the main red types are, you get access to a ton of these hybrid cards. Because like Shadowmoor and Eventide were the first sets to kind of do this. I don't remember which one was which,
Yeah.
or if they both did it together, but there was a lot of opportunity to build monocolor decks there, because you get access to more of the hybrid cards.
Right.
So part of it is that I'm looking forward to playing this in potentially like a mono blue or a mono red or a blue red deck. And then back to your initial question about the elementals, I think there's actually going to be two builds of elementals. One is going to be more red based aggressive, like maybe mono red or like heavy red. And the other one is going to be, we haven't seen like the vivid cards yet, but I do think elementals is the base for what your vivid payoffs are, because most of the vivid creatures are elemental creature type.
Yeah, I'm very on board with that take for sure. So yeah, I think we graded this, but just one more time, just to end us, so we go to the next one.
B- for me and C+ for you.
Yeah, next up we've got the common hybrid card, Flaring Cinder. One Izzet hybrid for a 3/2 elemental. Whenever this creature enters, and whenever you cast a spell with mana value 4 or greater, you may discard a card. If you do, draw a card. And this is the elemental theme, by the way, casting spells with mana value 4 or greater.
I like this card quite a bit.
Yeah, sell me on it. I don't dislike it, but
having that enters text, like to be able to instantly do it and then threaten to do it again later, I think like there was another MKM card that kind of did this. Was it based off detectives or something like that?
Oh, projector inspector, is that what it is? Like yeah, I think yeah.
Something I didn't actually look it up, but it kind of gives me the same vibes where just triggering off of the other cards doesn't make a card good, but as soon as you have it self-enable, the card gets so much better. And looting is obviously way better than rummaging, but rummaging is still a very powerful ability to tack onto a card repeatedly.
Yes, I agree. Yeah. Yeah, and by the way, this is there's some nice crossover with the blue cards. With we talked about Convoke when we talked about Merfolk. Well, Convoke is a way to get more expensive cards in your deck without actually putting like a million 6-drops in your deck. So that's kind of a little cute crossover. So what do we give it? I think I graded it slightly lower than you did.
Yeah, you're at 2 grades lower. I'm at a C+ for Flaring Cinder. I think like pretty much every blue and red deck's going to be okay with this, and you're at a C-.
Yeah, I can come around. We'll see. Then the gold card is Twin Flame Travelers. 2 blue-red for a 3/3 flyer at uncommon. If a triggered ability of another elemental you control triggers, it triggers an additional time. So, 3/3 flyer for 4 mana, no ETB, no protection. Don't like that. But it's selling out a hell of a dream here, because a lot of the elementals have pretty good enter the battlefield triggers.
Yeah, they really did blue-red dirty with the one gold card, and just like all the other ones are so good, and this one's a phantom monster with no protection.
Right, like so clearly the worst of the cycle, I think.
Also, the art on this kind of reminds me of one of those like HR videos about consent. Like, it's I don't know what's going on here, but there's some weird touching going on, and yeah.
I thought you were gonna take it down a different route, like like the happy sad drama masks, like what are the names, Thalia and something, I don't even know, but yeah, I mean, yeah, you're right, it does look like that. Don't do that. Don't be like Ashling. Anyways,
exactly. Grades, we're both reasonably low on this. I gave it a D plus, and you are slightly higher at a C minus.
Yeah, yeah. Okay. Now we go on to elves, which is the last of the main creature type decks. Eclipsed Elf is 3 black green hybrid, Golgari hybrid, Golgari hybrid, Golgari hybrid for a 3/2. So kind of like the other ones, but just swap power and toughness, and does the same things. Looks for an elf, swamp, or forest.
So elves care about stuff in the graveyard, and it's nice that this stat line is more likely to trade.
Yeah, great point.
So really like this. I think elves are also going to be great. I and you both gave this a B plus.
Yeah, just a good card. Next up, another just a good card, Morkant's Loyalist, which is 1 black green for a 3/2. It's an elf, and it says other elves you control get +1/+1. When this creature dies, return another target elf card from your graveyard to your hand. And the elf theme, by the way, is it cares about the graveyard. You're going to see a decent amount of self-mill, a decent amount of recursion, and yeah, this card plays into it.
It's also sometimes we've seen dies effects be a little suspicious because you don't have control over when that trigger happens.
Yeah.
But it's really nice that like your opponent can't just leave this on the board.
Yeah, they got to kill it.
They got to kill it, and then you get your value. Maybe on turn 3 you play it and they kill it right away. You don't get something, but I think most of the time you'll have a pretty good target for this.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, maybe if you can play a different 3-drop instead of this one on turn 3.
Yeah.
So what do we give it?
Both gave it a B plus.
Okay, and the hybrid common is Stoic Grove Guide, which is 4 hybrid Golgari for a 5/4 elf, and doesn't do anything on the battlefield, but you can exile it from your grave for 1 in a hybrid Golgari to make a 2/2 elf token. Activate that only as a sorcery. So this card kind of reads to me as a card you would much prefer to mill rather than actually cast.
Yeah, another fairly elegant design though, because it's another. If you desperately need a playable in a green or black deck, it's easy to cast, but unless you care about the creature type or the out of the graveyard effect, it's very not an exciting card. So I think elves decks will be reasonably happy with maybe 1 or 2 copies of this. I'm not looking to play it anywhere else unless I'm desperate. And the fact that it's replaceable, we both gave it a D plus.
Yeah. Okay, so that's the 5 main decks. Now we have 5 kind of weirdo decks. So the reason that we say they're not as supported is they don't actually get a gold card, like an actual factual 2-color blue and black mana gold card. We get hybrid cards, but not actual gold cards. And some of these have creature types associated with them. Some of them don't. Some of them have some other themes. So we'll get into it when we get into it, but just kind of prepping you for these are a little bit sporadic. So the first one here, blue-black, Voracious Tome Skimmer is the uncommon. Hybrid Dimir, Hybrid Dimir, Hybrid Dimir for a fairy rogue at uncommon. It's a 2/3 flyer and says whenever you cast a spell during your opponent's turn, you may pay 1 life, and if you do, draw a card. So fairy's theme is this casting spells on your opponent's turn. I love the fairy, fairy kind of archetype gameplay. So yeah, I'm hoping there's a little bit of that fun of that kind of deck to be had here, even if it's not the main thing going on. Did you want to get any words about this like other half of the format that's not as supported before we dive in?
Yeah, well, so in the original Lorwyn, tree folk and giants were like a very minor theme, but fairies was actually like fairly supported.
Yeah.
So it makes sense because the other 5 tribes or types or whatever they're called now fit so perfectly because there's 2 colors overlap on each. But they really cut back the number of fairies quite significantly in this.
Yeah.
In that you're not likely to draft a fairies deck. That being said, I still think if you're really paying close attention to your picks during the draft, there will be a lot of other lanes that open up to do things a little bit differently than the main 5 prescribed types, which hopefully leads to some additional playability for the format as things kind of drag into weeks 2, 3, 4, 5, etc.
Yeah, I kind of view it as, in a lot of formats, there's like 1 or 2 kind of hidden sneaky decks or decks that we're kind of unsure in preview season if they're going to get there. And we're like, oh, maybe this is something you do on week 3 or 4. It kind of feels like half the format is that, right? Where you're like, okay, you might get there. I'd maybe give like Black-White Sacrifice as an example from Avatar as that kind of deck, right? So yeah, it'll be really interesting to see how things actually pan out. I agree. I think there's a lot of opportunities to draft really good decks in these colors. But yeah, what do you think about this card?
We both gave this a C. It's nice that it rewards you for playing fairies because most of them have flash, but
Mm-hmm.
also you can do other things as well. So you don't need to be like, okay, I'm going to ignore one of the main types and just try to draft as many fairies as possible. And actually, did you want to take a look at the chart of what matters, the creature types?
Oh, sure, sure. Yeah. Why don't you just talk about that, and I'll put up an image after. So sorry, stream, but we'll just talk about that real quick here.
Okay, so yeah, I basically, when I'm preparing for these, I look through a bunch of different stuff, and one of the things that I pulled up was just what creature types matter for like if there's cards that care about that or not. So I made a list of, if for those who are able to see it later, the top half is all the cards that care heavily about a creature type, and the bottom section is just cards that care very minorly. So there's like a very minor upside for having that type. And I'm not going to go into each one of these. We're not going to describe them. But to me, it was interesting that there's not an even split of cards, even regardless of rarities, of what cares about each creature type. So the creature types that will matter the most per card per set, ignoring strength and power level, is actually elves. So there are 14 cards that care about you having an elf, casting an elf, returning an elf, having elves in your graveyard, whatever. And that is actually fairly significantly more than some of the others. So goblins have 10, elementals have 8, merfolk have 9, and Kithkin have 8 as well. So it's quite a big gap. Elves will be the tribe that you're, or the type that you're looking to be rewarded for the most. And then the other three, there's only 2 cards that care about giants, 2 cards that care about tree folk, and only 1 card that actually cares about you having a fairy in play. So on top of that, there's a few others on the far right. There's 8 cards that just say we're rewarding you for having a density of a certain type. It doesn't matter which one. And this in total is about 1/5 of the cards in the set. So roughly 1 out of every 5 cards you see in each pack will care about you having a specific creature type. So there's going to be a main emphasis on this. And I would guess that 99% of the decks you draft will care at least a little bit about what types they have. Out of those, I would say, I don't know if you want to throw your impact on this too, or your feedback.
Yeah.
I would say probably about 2/3 of the deck you draft will heavily care about one creature type.
Yeah, that sounds about right. As long as you're drafting like one of the 5 main decks, right? Yeah, that's about right. The other decks or the other cards in your decks might just be removal spells, generically good creatures, whatever it is. Great little interjection. Again, if you're watching on the stream and want the visual, tune into the video later. We'll go to the hybrid common now, which is Mischievous Sneakling. 1 in a hybrid Dimir for a 2/2 shapeshifter, flash, and has Changeling, which means this card is every creature type. So our first instance of Changeling, and Changeling is kind of like the glue that holds together these kinds of sets, right? It's a really useful design tool where it's just kind of a free bingo space as far as your creature synergies go. The trade-off is that these are often just less powerful cards. Like 2/2 flash for 2 is like, okay, like you'll play it, but you really have to care about the creature type to really want this card.
And the fact that, so there's only 5 of these here, and it's the 5 non-supported color pair types.
Right.
And so interestingly, each of them are playable in 4 of the 5 main types, right? Because this is playable in elementals, merfolk, goblin, and elves. The only one it misses is Kithkin.
Yes, that's right.
So they become highly flexible when you consider them that way. And again, when you go back to 1/5 of the set cares about you having a specific type, changelings are also a way to potentially pick up some late rewards that you might not be fully supporting. But if, let's say there's only one, goblin drafter at the table, and some of those goblin reward cards are looping around the table, even if you're blue-white merfolk, if you have like 5, 6, 7 changelings, you could maybe pick up a card that cares about goblins and still play it and be pretty happy with that.
Yeah, no, totally agree. So what do we give this?
We both gave this a C minus.
Yep, seems about right. Just a bear with a little bit of upside. All right. Next up, we've got green red, and I I made a little video about how I really like Noggles just for no particular reason. I just think they're kind of funny, and they actually made a new Noggle. So we got Noggle Robber for the green red hybrid uncommon. One Gruul hybrid for a 3/3 Noggle Rogue, and it says when this creature enters or dies, create a treasure token, an uncommon. So by the way, this so the red, green, and red, green, and blue, green decks. They have the theme of Vivid, which we'll get to some cards that have it. But basically, it counts the number of colors on your side of the battlefield and gives you effects based on that, which plays very nicely with the hybrid cards, of course, because this card or any other hybrid card counts as 2 colors. So I imagine what's going to happen is kind of like you alluded to, Mark. Teamer is kind of just going to be its own thing, like Teamer Elemental / Vivid, Rampy, Splish Splashy, Teamer Pile, if you want to put it that way. And Noggle Robber seems like a pretty good card for that kind of deck.
And again, like the monocolor decks too, there's a ton of hybrid cards, like one common of each pair and one uncommon of each pair. There's a lot of potential avenues for this, and even though this does enable splashing, I'd still be pretty happy to play this in a monocolor deck.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, absolutely. As this card just seems pretty good to me. What do we give it?
Yeah, I gave this a B. You're a little lower on a B minus.
The hybrid common is Gangly Stomper, which is 2 in a Gruul hybrid for a 4/2 Changeling with Trample. Yeah, I mean, not exciting, but it's a card.
I seem to be higher than you on, like, I'm actually 2 grades higher than you on this one.
Oh, interesting.
Like this card, like, it's the stats are not horrible, and I do think Changeling is going to be very important. And I'm not saying I would first pick it, but early on in a pack, if you're trying to like defer the decision, these cards are so gluey.
Yeah, for sure.
Like the flexibility of both casting, creature types, like strategies, this works well in kind of in beatdown and in control because it trades off well and it attacks fairly well. So I'm pretty interested in this. I give this a C plus. You're on a C minus.
Yeah, I think even like just hearing my C minus, I probably should bring it up to a C. I agree with everything you said. And if you do have tricks, if you do have all the things that make a 4/2 trampler more exciting, I'm more into the card, right? So yeah, maybe I'm just underrating it in general. I like the stats. I like the ability. Let's go to the next one.
Just like
yeah, go ahead.
In Kithkin, this is pumping. This thing is huge. Like in Elves, it trades off and goes to the graveyard as another elf in the graveyard.
Yeah.
In Elementals, there's a bunch of things that care about having an elemental to play and having multiple colors. Like it really just checks a lot of boxes.
Yeah, I'm sold. I don't know if I'm gonna come up with a C plus, but I definitely should adjust to at least a C. Next up, we have black white, and black white and white red kind of share a theme. They actually, let's just go to a card that actually cares about it. There are a lot of cards in this set that come in with counters on them, -1/-1 counters. So they start small, and they have an ability to remove them to give you some sort of effect, some sort of good effect. And of course, in the process, you're making your creature bigger. And that crosses over nicely with the Blight cards, right? So I'll before we get into more of that, I'll read out this card here, Reaping Willow, the black-white hybrid uncommon. 1 Orzhov hybrid for a 3/6 lifelink Treefolk. Enters with 2 -1/-1 counters and has the ability 1 Orzhov hybrid, remove 2 counters from this card, or sorry, from this creature. Return target creature card with mana value 3 or less from your graveyard to the battlefield. Activate that only as a sorcery. So as you can kind of piece it together, it's like, well, okay, I get to do this once, and then I blight onto this, put some counters, then I get to do it again. And so the Mardu space, so including the Goblin cards too, kind of have some of that going on.
This card, it's very strong. It's very hard to cast, and there's a bit of tension in it too, because if you're casting this on turn 4, it's only a 1/4 lifelink, right? Like,
yeah,
just to it looks that this everything looks good, and then you have to realize 2 -1/-1 counters is a really big downside.
Right.
So 1/4 lifelink is not doing much. If you think of this as a 6 drop, though, a 3/6 lifelink that returns something kind of on ETB suddenly becomes pretty good, and
Yeah.
it's even better than that because it can be split across 2 turns. So I don't know how often this is going to come up, and this is another reason why I think I might like just like trying to play monocolor and jamming this in instead of trying to play black white, play mono black and see what happens. So I only gave it a C. You're lower on C minus, but it is a very powerful card.
Yeah, and my grade is not like my grade is mostly reflecting, I think, how much you're going to end up in this space. But to be honest, I wasn't factoring in like how often you'll be monocolored. I was kind of thinking like black white base, which is what you kind of have to be if you're thinking of it in a 2-color deck. Gnarly art too, awesome art. Let's go to the Changeling, the common Changeling, Prideful Feastling, 2 and an Orzhov hybrid for a 2/3 Changeling. It's got lifelink.
Yeah, this one I like a lot less. Like the stats just not super impressive. So this one's more filler to me. We both gave it a D+.
Yeah. Next up we have Red White. So again, Red White is a little more aggressive leaning, of course, than Black White, but has the same kind of theme of -1 counters and taking them off and doing some things with it. We also could just end up in the world like we do a lot of times when Red White's doing something a little bit funky where you're just supposed to beat down and just play a curve of creatures. And we'll start with the uncommon here, Hovel Hurler, which is 2 Boros hybrid for a 6/7 uncommon giant. It enters with 2 -1/-1 counters on it. You can pay Boros hybrid, remove a counter from this creature. Another target creature you control gets +1/+0 and gains flying until on a turn. Activate that only as a sorcery. And I think, by the way, maybe I'm wrong about this, but maybe you can correct me if I'm wrong. I think all of these sort of abilities, the remove the counter abilities, are sorcery speed abilities. So you can kind of just shortcut that for the most case.
Well, I'm not sure about that.
Okay, if I'm wrong, we'll figure it out later. Yeah. But we've got, a effectively 4/5 for 5 mana, no enter the battlefield effect. Threatens to push like a hell of a lot of damage, though.
Well, hold on. Isn't there a fairy that counters things?
Oh, sure. There's like a rare. Sorry, at uncommon and common, maybe. They probably took that restriction off for rares.
So this one, again, it's powerful. You see the vision. It is still a 5 mana 4/5 with like no ETB, no protection. It can certainly get an engine going. It can be powerful if you remove the counters and then put more counters on it. Like it can be a plan by itself. But we've seen a lot of times in the past, like the last one was a 4 mana 1/4 lifelink, no ETB, no protection. This one potentially even worse on the front side. I don't know. I could see it being good, but it starts off pretty small.
Yeah, like everything you just said, I co-sign. This one, like, with all these no enter the battlefield, no protection, expensive creatures, you're always asking the question, if I do get to untap with it, am I gonna get paid off, basically? And this one is pretty nice. Like, if you just say, send my 3 power creature, my 2 power creature to the sky, that's 7 damage in the air, and now I'm attacking you with a 6/7? Like, I don't know. It could be there. It's spread. We've infected everybody now. I was holding back, Mark, but so what grade did we end up giving this?
I gave it a C minus. You gave it a D+.
Yeah, and I could see being wrong about this, but I always start low on these kind of cards. And the common hybrid Changeling is Feisty Spikeling. 1 in a Boros hybrid for a 2/1 Changeling. During your turn, this creature has first strike.
Another fairly filler one, like the aggressive ones, maybe a Kithkin card potentially, but D+ from both of us.
Yeah, one little interesting wrinkle about this set is that often when you have a creature with a keyword ability that's good in combat, like first strike or lifelink or maybe unblockable, you kind of think, okay, I can pair these with counters or so just some way to make them bigger. But there are no +1/+1 counters in this set. Right, that's just a design thing, because when you mix +1/+1 and -1 counters, that confuses a lot of new players, because there's a weird interaction there where they cancel out, and so you're not gonna buff your creatures up with counters very often. So this kind of card in another set, you might be like, oh, put a counter on it, great, go to town. But it's going to stay at 2-1 a lot of the time.
It can be buffed by a lot of the lords, though.
Yes, that is a good point. That is a good point. So yeah, what do we grade this one?
D+ from both of us.
Yeah. Okay. Simic now. So now we see the Vivid mechanic actually spelled out. So Glister Baron is 2 Simic Hybrid, Simic Hybrid, Simic Hybrid for a 1/4 oof at uncommon. At the beginning of combat on your turn, another target creature you control gets +X/+X until end of turn, where X is the number of colors amongst permanents you control. So it's kind of a strange card, because I guess, hypothetically anyways, the way I'm imagining it, this kind of Simic or Teamer space wants to be slower, wants to, draw the game out, win with value. Not as interested in, like, a combat ability like this. I don't know, what do you think?
I think this is a solely mono green card.
Oh, yeah, that's a good call. I like that. I like framing it like that.
And I would grade it quite low and avoid picking it unless you basically table it and or mono green. We both gave it a D.
Yeah, just like 1/4 on your opponent's turn is just so bad. 5-mana 1/4 on your opponent's turn. Jeez. We've got Chitinous Graspling. This is 1 and a Simic for a 3/4 Changeling. It's got reach.
Yeah, another fairly filler one. I gave this another D+. You're even a little bit lower on a D, but yeah.
Yeah.
I think I'll be fine playing this some percentage of the time.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. Yeah, so the thought chat's asking, mono green or base green soup? No, that's kind of our point with this Glister Baron. You don't want this in a green soup deck, because that kind of deck wants to be defensive, and this card is not that, right? So yeah, just a little bit of weird tension there. Chitinous. I knew that word from like high school biology. Chitinous. Thank you. Anyways,
yeah, while we're this is wrapping up the hybrid cards. Obviously, talking about monocolor sounds really appealing when we just reviewed all the hybrid cards and you get to play pretty much all of them.
Yeah.
But notably, it is kind of interesting. We just saw Vivid. We'll probably talk about this more as we see some more of the payoffs, but counterintuitively, the monocolor decks, if you are able to pick up a lot of these hybrid cards, you might actually be better at doing Vivid than some of the multicolor decks.
Yeah, I think that's very true. Actually, we just had somebody in chat asking, like, you said this is a mono green card. That's like sounds weird. The assumption is you're mono green with hybrid cards in your deck, right? So you can actually make this Vivid thing work. So yeah, I definitely think that could be true.
Yeah, well, the other card, the Baron we just saw, it does give +2/+2 as a base, but then if you have a green red, like the sampling or whatever it is, the 4/2 trample, then it's giving +3/+3, and if you have a green black card, it's +4/+4.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
You can branch into all 5 colors without needing to ruin your mana.
Yeah, it's gonna be really interesting to solve this part of the format. Just like that, the 5 main decks are kind of obvious, but there's some interesting stuff going on here. All right, colorless cards now. Changeling Wayfinder is the first one here. This is a 3-mana colorless 1/2, not an artifact creature. It's a changeling, and when it enters, you may search your library for a basic land, reveal it, put it into your hand, and then shuffle. So yeah, we've seen these kind of effects before. The 3-mana colorless 1/2, go get a land, but changeling I think is a decent little buff.
I like this card, and it is funny again that comparing these changelings to the ones we just saw, these do go in all 5 types, but don't provide any Vivid. So they're not even necessarily like strictly better / easier to cast in a lot of these decks. Because you might care about the fact that it's not got a color attached to it.
Yeah, that's true. Wow.
Yeah, I do like this quite a bit, though. I think any non-aggressive deck will be happy with this. Because it only goes in a subtype of deck, though, we both graded it a C.
Yeah, that sounds right to me. Rooftop Percher is another colorless common changeling. It's 5 mana for a 3/3 with flying. And when it enters, you exile up to 2 cards from graveyards. You gain 3 life. So the 2 cards from graveyard thing, not exclusively relevant against black-green, but mostly relevant against black-green. So really, we're just looking at this as like 5 mana 3/3 flyer changeling gain 3, which isn't like the worst rate in the world. It's not exciting, but
You can usually find a better 5-drop
right,
though.
yeah,
But
totally.
yeah, super replaceable. Both gave it a D plus.
Next up, we've got an uncommon here. We're doing these colorless cards a little bit out of order. We're not doing commons and uncommons separated. Dawn Blessed Pennant is a single. Oh, maybe we're actually. Sorry, that's not true. Dawn Blessed Pennant is a single mana artifact at uncommon. As this artifact enters, choose Elemental, Elf, Fairy, Giant, Goblin, Kithkin, Merfolk, or Treefolk. And if you ever want a reminder of what creature types matter in this set, you read Dawn Blessed Pennant, because that's all of them. Whenever a permanent you control of the chosen type enters, you gain a life, and you can pay 2, tap, sack it, return target card of the chosen type from your graveyard to your hand.
Not exciting, but not unplayable either.
Yeah, so out of all those kind of decks, what do you think are the ones that are most gonna maybe consider this?
Not any of the aggressive ones, because you don't want something that doesn't affect the board.
So
So
no Kithkin, no Goblin.
probably, yeah, elves, maybe goblins. If you're doing kind of a grindy thing, maybe elementals, and maybe tree folk.
Yeah, because like if you, the nice thing is with a lot of these kind of cards that like say when a creature enters you gain life, they're kind of bad top decks, but this gives you a thing to do when you've top decked it, right? Buy something back. If you can play it on turn 1 in your slow, I'll just say slower elemental deck that has some changelings in it, right? And you gain 4 or 5 life off of it and then buy something back, like that's a pretty decent card.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I see the vision. I'm not excited about it either. So we both gave it fairly low grades. I am at a D plus. You're at a D.
Yeah, I think you kind of got to be choosy about when you play that one. Oh, I am actually wrong. We're going back to a common now. So Furdok Core is up next. This is 3 mana for a artifact. It has Changeling. Kind of interestingly enough. Taps add a mana of any color. 4. This artifact becomes a 4/4 artifact creature until end of turn. So a manaless that you can pay for to wake it up into a 4/4.
Yeah, it's funny that both this and the Changeling Wayfinder are kind of the ways of getting. So there's no. I don't know if you mentioned this already, but there's no dual lands in this set.
Good call. I did not say that. Yeah, except they're rare.
We are looking at 13 cards plus a basic in every pack. So fixing is going to be hard to come by. That leads into this whole vivid strategy of wanting as many colors of reward as possible.
Mm-hmm.
The way to play many colors, you need a lot of mana fixing, but both the Changeling Wayfinder and this card don't actually provide you a color for vivid purposes.
Right.
So I'm not quite sure what the home is for this card.
Right, yeah, exactly. These manoliths have kind of ranged from pretty solid if you want that effect to kind of like, I guess I have to play this, you know? And I think becoming a 4/4 is actually like a pretty good upside on this kind of card. So...
And it does, there's a whole cycle of cards that need you to behold a creature of a type. Like it does.
Oh, yeah.
Both count for all those. So
yeah,
there's spots for it probably. I gave this a D plus and you gave it a D. So I'm a little bit more optimistic than you, but it's going to be interesting to find what those spots are.
Yeah, no, for sure. This is the kind of card that like is very hard to pin down. Like it goes in this deck. It's kind of like, you know it when you see it sort of thing. Foraging Wickermaw is up next. This is a 2 mana 1/3 Scarecrow, artifact creature at common. When it enters, you surveil 1 and has the filter ability. So you can pay 1, add a mana of any color, and this creature also becomes that color until end of turn. Activate that only once, though. So yeah, I really like the design on this. We've had this kind of card before, and I think like surveilling 1 and it becoming a color, that adds like a good amount to it.
I've played mana workers before, or weavers, or whatever they're called. And with just 2 mana 1/3 filter a mana a turn and been okay with this. So there will be, I think, decks that'll be quite interested in perhaps like a second copy of these. First one for sure, though.
Yeah, I one thing too, is that I've heard a lot of people say the fixing in the set is bad. And I obviously, without lands, that's worse than with lands. Like, lands are the best fixing. But if you want to splash, if you want to fix, like, the fixing is there, and it's not like a terrible rate. Like, this is a solid card, you know? The Changeling that goes and gets a land, that's a solid card. So, yeah, splashing is possible. It's just not going to be like every deck wants to be almost 3 colors or whatever.
Maybe this is a good time. We haven't seen a lot of Vivid cards, but is this a good time for a quick Vivid monologue while we're looking at this card?
Yeah, why not? Let's do it.
Okay, so with the Vivid cards, we've seen exactly one. Is that correct? With the Baron, they reward you for having permanents of multiple types, and the more the better, right? So
yeah,
at a baseline, if you expect to play a 2-color deck and you're just playing a Vivid card, your Vivid count will be 2, and most of them are costed such that getting a reward of 2 is not, very exciting. You kind of need to be pushing 3 to be happy, and if you get to 5, you're like really excited.
Right.
Because the fixing's not that good, and because it's hard to get a ton of different colors, there's been a lot of talk in your Discord about the Vivid deck, like building this 5-color deck that's going to get full prismatic 5-color payoffs for all their cards and have them all be busted and broken. I'm seeing things a little bit differently. So I kind of grouped it into the Vivid spells and the Vivid creatures. Because the Vivid creatures all have like an ETB, well, mostly, where it comes in and then it rewards you for having multiple types. And the Vivid creatures, I'm potentially interested in splashing those in 2-color decks.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Because they count themselves, and you're almost always going to have the 2 other of your main colors, right? So if you're playing like Merfolk and you're splashing a red card for a couple of Vivid payoffs, then you're pretty likely to have red, blue, white when you cast your red Vivid card because it counts itself on entry.
Yes.
The spells, though, don't count themselves because they're not permanents. So those ones I'm viewing more as you need to be playing the Vivid 5-color deck and maybe trying to do something a little bit differently. But this is the kind of card where I think I'm going to end up playing a decent number of these and splashing maybe 1 or 2 Vivid permanents. And then this either becomes the source for that color, in which case you're not actually getting an additional Vivid trigger because it'll turn into the red card and then it'll cast the red card. But then if you happen to have drawn your red source separately, it gives you the 4th color for it as well.
Yeah, I think that sounds really cool. And we'll get to, like, this sounds a little bit like, okay, that's a lot of moving parts, but when we get to those Vivid payoffs, I think it's going to make a lot more sense. Yeah. Sweet. Okay. Grade for this little guy.
Yeah, long time for a card we both gave a C.
Yeah.
This is going to be great in some decks and totally uninterested in a bunch of others.
Yeah, C for Foraging or Kerma. All right, we've got Gathering Stone, which is 4 mana for an artifact at uncommon. As it enters, you choose a creature type. Spells you cast of the chosen type cost 1 less. And when this enters and the beginning of your upkeep, look at the top card of your library. If the card is the chosen type, you reveal it, put it into your hand, and if you don't, you can put that into your graveyard. Just a little too all-around clunky, right?
Even if you hit when it enters and you hit on your first upkeep, like it's basically been a 4-mana divination. Maybe a 3-mana divination because you get a discount on the cards, but it's still like not super exciting. So we both gave this an F.
Yeah. I can see this not being a total F, but I think the responsible set reviewer's F is what I'll give it. Puka's Eye. Interesting card. 2 mana for an artifact at uncommon. When it enters, you draw a card. Then choose a color. This artifact becomes the chosen color. 3 tap, draw a card. Activate only if there are 5 colors among permanents you control. Yeah.
So this is the kind of card that I just basically don't really believe in. Because if you have 4 other colors of permanents, that means not only have you drawn all of your sources of fixing, you've also been able to cast your spells already, and you've had them stick on the battlefield. Like, why do you need a draw engine to help you win the game at that point?
Yeah, you're like, hell yeah, I get to pay 3 for a card. Yeah.
Yeah, I graded this higher than you. I probably shouldn't have. You gave it a D. I like your grade better. I gave it a D plus.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean I kind of want to like it, to be honest. But every time I've looked at this card a lot of times trying to figure out, like, is this maybe a little bit better than my gut's telling me? It could be. I didn't come to that conclusion though. So yeah.
It's also annoying that you have to lock in the color when you cast it. So it's not like just getting to 4 colors will get you the reward.
Hmm.
You have to know which color you're going to be missing.
Right. It could be that you just know, like, your deck, you just know, like, okay, I don't have black cards in my deck or whatever, or maybe I have black cards, but that's the least common in my deck, right?
Yes, but if it's the latter there, then if you draw your black card and you're missing another one, you're like, well, what the heck?
Yeah.
Yeah.
In any case, no pun intended, a card I'm going to keep my eye on, but one we're going to start low on. Springleaf Drum. This is a reprint, kind of an interesting one. Single mana for an artifact, uncommon. Tap to tap an untapped creature you control. Add 1 mana of any color. So what's the use case for this card? Because I think this card is, like, kind of confusing probably to a lot of people.
This card has performed well in sets where you want to splash and have a lot of cheap creatures that you're lying around, because it's really good with 1-drops.
Mm-hmm.
Both because you can, like, cast it and then use the thing to cast the 1-drop, and because the 1-drop will enable it and you don't mind tapping it in combat. This set doesn't really have that, so I think the use case for this is a way of triggering your Merfolk that have tap triggers.
There are Merfolk on the card.
If you're both in a Merfolk deck and splashing, I'd play this. Other than that, I think it's going to be pretty rare, and I'm expecting to play a lot less of these than I did in Brothers War.
Yeah, and generally when you have this kind of card that's, like, not, quote unquote worth a card, you want to be pairing it with card draw, right? To make up for the fact that, like, you've got this additional mana source in your deck. It's not even technically an additional mana source, right? To turn something else into a mana source, you need to make up for the card disadvantage. So Merfolk with some of the card draw spells like that's an interesting place for it. What do we give it?
Both gave it a D plus.
Yeah. Next up, we've got Stalactite Dagger, which is 2 mana for an equipment at common. When it enters, you make a 1/1 shapeshifter token. It's a changeling. And the equipped creature gets +1/+1 and has all creature types. The equip cost is 2. Man, I actually really liked this card, but I misread it at first and thought it auto-equipped. It does not auto-equip, and I'm sure a lot of people also might have read it that way. So you're getting a 1/1/2, plus an equipment, 2 shapeshifter permanents, though. Like, that's sort of interesting.
Well, so yeah, if it auto-equipped, it'd be like a B-, wouldn't it be? It would be so good.
Yeah. So it's not actually a shapeshifter, but, like, you can make something else a shapeshifter.
Yeah, so right, so it only gives you the second once you've equipped it, and notably, it in your hand is not a shapeshifter, which is important for a lot of cards.
Right, we should say there are some cards that, like, say reveal elf or whatever to do a thing. This can't do that.
Yeah, if you're desperate for 2-drops, I think this isn't the worst thing, but equipping for 2 instead of 1 is a big downside compared to Glimmerlight, and so we're both lower. I gave it a D plus. You gave it a D.
Yep. All right, and we've got some lands here. Eclipsed Realm is an uncommon land. As it enters, choose one of the 8 Merfolk, one of the 8 Lorwyn creature types here, and you can tap to add Colorless. You can also tap to add 1 mana of any color. Spend that only to cast a spell of the chosen type or activate an ability of the source of the chosen type. So this card gets overplayed. Not that people play it a lot, but I think even still is overplayed because people are like, oh, I'm the elf deck. I put this in my deck. I've got a lot of elves. You also have to consider in limited, a lot of your cards are just not going to be just in a black-green elf deck, you might not have all elves, and B, you have non-creatures, right? Sometimes, like, double pip. Sometimes you got a hybrid card in there, which, to be fair, the really tough hybrid cards are often the creature of the type you want to cast, but this is not going to improve your mana base as often as you might think.
It does. Just one minor correction. Yeah. It does cast some non-creature spells. To be
that fair. Is very true. Yes. There are non-creature spells that actually have a creature type in this set. So good call.
Yeah, but I think people will heavily underestimate how many hits you need. You probably need to have there to be like 13 of that type for you to be happy with this. and it's going to be played on a lot less than that. And I'm sure the data will hate this card. I still gave it, a little bit of an optimistic D plus. You gave it a more responsible D.
Yeah, like just think if you're playing, like just say a Merfolk deck, take this card in a Plains and ask how many cards does the Plane cast and how many cards does this cast, and a lot of times the Plains is going to cast more cards in your deck. All right. Evolving Wilds. Everybody loves a good Evolving Wilds. This is, land at common, tap sack, go search your library for a basic, put it on the battlefield tapped. What's not to love?
Yeah, C plus.
Yeah, C+. Just good.